Friends, if you want to watch super hit movie Fast and Furious 7 in English, then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called Furious 7. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting facts about this movie in today's video I'm going to tell you. I am also going to give you all the information on which I request you friends to watch this video till the end. So let's start the video. Furious 7, also known as Fast and Furious 7 or Wild Speed, Sky Mission in Japan 4, is a 2015 action film directed by James Wan and written by Chris Morgan. It is the sequel to Fast and Furious 6 2013 and The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift 2006, and the seventh installment in the Fast and Furious franchise. The film stars an ensemble cast, including Vin Diesel, Paul Walker in his final film role, Dwayne Johnson, Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese Gibson, Chris Ludacris Bridges, Jordana Brewster, Jaimin Hounsou, Kurt Russell, and Jason Statham. In the film, Dominic Toretto, Brian O'Connor and their team are recruited by covert ops leader Mr. Nobody to prevent Mose Jakanda, a terrorist, from obtaining a hacking program, but Deckard Shaw, a former Special Forces soldier seeking to avenge his comatose young brother Owen Shaw, puts the team in danger. Plans for a seventh installment were first announced in February 2012, when Johnson stated that production on the film would begin after the completion of Fast and Furious 6. In April 2013, Wan, predominantly known for horror films, was announced to direct the film. Casting showed the returns of Diesel and Walker that same month. Principal photography began that September in Atlanta, but was indefinitely suspended in November after Walker died in a car crash. Filming resumed in April 2014 and ended in July, with Walker's brothers Caleb and Cody standing in to complete his remaining scenes, causing delay to its 2015 release date, with other filming locations including Los Angeles, Colorado, Abu Dhabi, and Tokyo. Brian Tyler, who had composed the score for Fast 5 2011, returned to compose the seventh installment. With an estimated production budget of up to $250 million, it is one of the most expensive films ever made. Furious 7 premiered at the TCL Chinese Theater in Los Angeles on April 1, 2015, and was released in the United States on April 3 by Universal Pictures. The film was a box office success, and it received positive reviews from critics for its action sequences and emotional tribute to Walker, with many considering it to be one of the best films in the franchise. It grossed over $1.5 billion worldwide, making it the third highest-grossing film of 2015 and the fourth highest-grossing film of all time at the time of release. It also set a record for the second highest opening weekend of its time, grossing $397.6 million worldwide. It was the highest-grossing film of 2015 internationally and became the highest-grossing film of the franchise in the first 12 days of its theatrical release. A sequel titled The Fate of the Furious was released in 2017. Plot: after defeating Owen Shaw and securing pardons for their past crimes, Dominic Toretto, Brian O'Connor, and the team have returned to US to live normal lives. Dom tries to help Letty Ortiz regain her memory, while Brian accustoms himself to life as a father. Meanwhile, Owen's elder brother Deckard Shaw breaks into the hospital, where the comatose Owen is held in London and vows to exact revenge. Deckard breaks into the DSS field office in LA to extract profiles of Dom's crew and fights Luke Hobbs before he escapes, detonating a bomb that severely injures Hobbs. Dom learns from his sister Mia that she is pregnant again and convinces her to tell Brian. However, a letter bomb sent by Deckard, who has apparently killed Han Lu in Tokyo, explodes and destroys the Toretto house. Dom meets Hobbs and learns about Deckard before he travels to Tokyo to retrieve Han's body and acquires the objects found at the crash site from Sean Boswell. As Dom, Brian, Tej Parker, and Roman Pierce mourn Han and Giselle Yashar at Han's funeral in LA, Dom spots Deckard spying on them and confronts him in an underground tunnel. But Deckard flees when a covert ops team, led by government agent Mr. Nobody, arrives. Mr. Nobody tells Dom that he will help them in stopping Deckard if he helps him retrieve God's Eye, a computer program capable of tracking a specific individual using anything on a digital network, and save its creator Ramsey from Mose Jakande, a Nigerian terrorist. The team airdrops their off-road modified cars over the Caucasus Mountains in Azerbaijan and ambush Jakande's convoy, where they rescue Ramsey and leave for the Etihad Towers in Abu Dhabi. They steal the flash drive containing the God's Eye chip from a billionaire hidden in a Lycan Hypersport. With God's Eye secure, Dom, Brian, Nobody, and his team use it to hunt Deckard to an abandoned factory, but are ambushed by Jakande and his henchmen, who have allied with Deckard, and are forced to flee while Jakande obtains God's Eye. Mr. Nobody is medically extracted while the team returns to LA. Dom plans to fight Deckard alone, while Letty, Brian, Tej, and Roman resolve to protect Ramsey from Jakande. Brian promises Mia that he will fully dedicate himself to their family after he defeats Deckard and Jakande. As Jakande pursues Brian and the rest of the team with a stealth helicopter and an aerial drone, Ramsey attempts to hack into God's Eye. Discovering the situation, Hobbs leaves the hospital and destroys the drone with an ambulance. After battling and killing Jakande's henchman Kiet, Brian hijacks a signal repeater tower that allows Ramsey to control God's Eye and shut it down. As the military closes into the city, Jakande attempts to flee and spots Dom and Deckard engaging in a brawl atop a public parking garage. Intervening, Jakande turns on Deckard and attacks both men. Dom uses the distraction to defeat Deckard by causing part of the parking garage to collapse beneath him. Dom attempts to crash his Dodge Charger onto Jakande's helicopter, where he leaves a bag of grenades on the helicopter and crashes on the rubble of the garage. Hobbs shoots the grenades, destroying the helicopter and killing Jakande. After Brian and Hobbs help Letty bring out Dom's unconscious body, Letty cradles Dom and tells him that she has fully regained her memories and has remembered their wedding. Dom regains consciousness. Deckard is arrested by Hobbs and CIA, where he is locked up in a black site prison. The rest of the team relaxes on a tropical beach. Brian and Mia play with their son Jack, while Dom, Letty, Roman, Tej, and Ramsey look on, acknowledging that Brian is happily retired with his family. Dom drives away and Brian catches up with him. As Dom recalls his memories with Brian, they bid each other farewell and drive off in separate directions. Cast main articles, list of Fast and Furious cast members, and list of Fast and Furious characters. Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto, a former criminal, professional street racer and millionaire who has retired and settled down with his wife, Letty. Paul Walker as Brian O'Connor, a former LAPD police officer and FBI agent turned criminal who has retired and settled down with his wife, Mia, and their son, Jack. This was Walker's final Fast and Furious film, as well as his final film appearance. Caleb and Cody Walker, Paul's younger brothers, were used as stand-ins to complete his remaining scenes following their brother's death. Dwayne Johnson as Luke Hobbs, a DSS agent who allied with Dom and his team after their outings in Rio de Janeiro and Europe. Johnson initially said that if Universal Pictures pursued the accelerated development of a seventh film beginning in the summer, he would be unable to participate due to scheduling conflicts with filming on Hercules 2014. However, as production for Furious 7 would commence in September, Johnson confirmed his return, for Hercules would complete production in time to enable him to shoot the film. Michelle Rodriguez as Letty Ortiz Toretto, Dom's wife and a professional street racer, who was revealed to have suffered from amnesia after being presumed dead in Fast and Furious 2009. Tyrese Gibson as Roman Pierce, a former criminal and childhood friend of Brian from Barstow, and a member of Dom's team. Chris Ludacris Bridges as Tej Parker, a mechanic from Miami and a member of Dom's team. Jordana Brewster as Mia Toretto, Dom's sister and a former member of his team who has settled down with her husband, Brian, and their son, Jack. Jimon Hounsou as Mose Jakande, a Nigerian-born mercenary and terrorist who leads a private military company that allies with Shaw and uses God's Eye to track its creator and uses her to track down his enemies. Tony Jaa as Keat, a member of Jakande's team who possesses great agility, athleticism, and fighting prowess. Thai martial arts actor Jaa was confirmed to have joined the cast in August 2013, making his Hollywood debut. Ronda Rousey as Kara, the head of security for an Abu Dhabi billionaire. Rousey's involvement was confirmed in August 2013. Having committed to The Expendables 3, 2014, at the same time, Rousey was forced to shoot both films back-to-back in order to allow herself 45 days to focus on training for her UFC championship rematch against Miesha Tate. Her participation in the film was similar to that of Gina Carano, transitioning the transition from mixed martial arts fighting to acting, following Carano's involvement in Fast and Furious 6, 2013. Nathalie Emmanuel as Ramsey, a British computer hacktivist and the creator of The God's Eye, who allies with Dom and his team after being saved from Jakande and helps them to regain control of her program. Kurt Russell as Mr. Nobody, the leader of a covert ops team who agrees to help Dom stop Shaw if he can help him prevent Jakande from obtaining a computer program called The God's Eye. Jason Statham as Deckard Shaw, a former Special Forces soldier and intelligence agent who seeks to avenge his comatose younger brother after his hospitalization at the hands of Dom and his team in Spain. John Brotherton portrays Shepard, Mr. Nobody's right-hand man. Sung Kang and Gal Gadot appear in archive footage as Han Lu and Giselle Yashar. Lucas Black reprises his role as Sean Boswell, an American street racer who lives in Tokyo, whom Dom meets when he travels to Tokyo to claim the body of Han, a mutual friend of theirs killed by Shaw. In September, it was confirmed that Black had signed on to reprise his role as Boswell for Furious 7 and 2 more installments. Elsa Paki reprises her role as Elena Neves, a DSS agent and former Rio police officer who moved to the United States to become Hobbs' new partner at the DSS. Luke Evans briefly reprises his role as Owen Shaw, Deckard's now comatose younger brother, from Fast and Furious 6, 2013. And Noel Guglielmi reprises his role as Hector for a cameo appearance from The Fast and the Furious 2001. Ali Fazal portrays Safar, a friend of Ramsey to whom she sent the God's Eye for safekeeping. Fazal described his role as a cameo. Australian rapper Iggy Azalea, who also appears on the soundtrack, makes a cameo appearance as a racer at Race Wars. American singer-rapper T-Pain appears as himself as he DJs a party in Abu Dhabi. Romeo Santos makes a cameo appearance as Mando, who shelters Mia in the Dominican Republic, and Clement Tanaj appears as one of the Race Wars racers' production development. On October 21, 2011, the Los Angeles Times reported that Universal Studios was considering filming 2 sequels, Fast 6 and Fast 7, back-to-back with a single storyline running through both films. Both would be written by Chris Morgan and directed by Justin Lin, who had been the franchise's writer and director, respectively, since The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift 2006. On December 20, 2011, following the release of Fast 5, 2011, Vin Diesel stated that Fast 6 would be split into 2 parts, with writing for the 2 films occurring simultaneously. On the decision, Diesel said, "We have to pay off this story. We have to service all of these character relationships. And when we started mapping all that out, it just went beyond 110 pages. The studio said, you can't fit all that story in one damn movie." However, in an interview on February 15, 2012, Dwayne Johnson stated that the 2 intended sequels would no longer be filmed simultaneously because of weather issues in filming locations, and that production on Fast 7 would only begin after the completion of Fast 6. In April 2013, during the post-production of the retitled Fast and Furious 6, Lin announced that he would not return to direct the 7th film, as the studio wanted to produce the film on an accelerated scheduled for release in summer 2014. This would have required Lin to begin pre-production on the sequel while performing post-production on Fast and Furious 6, which he considered would affect the quality of the final product. Despite the usual 2-year gap between the previous installments, Universal chose to pursue a sequel quicker due to having fewer reliable franchises than its competitor studios. However, subsequent interviews with Lin have suggested that the 6th film was always intended to be the final installment under his direction. In April 2013, Australian director James Wan, predominantly known for horror films, was announced as the sequel's director, with Neil H. Moritz and Michael Fottrell returning to produce, and Morgan returning to write the script, his 5th in the franchise. On April 16, 2013, Diesel announced that the sequel would be released on July 11, 2014, 29. In May 2013, Diesel said that the sequel would feature Los Angeles, Tokyo, and the Middle East as locations. Filming principal photography began in early September 2013 in Atlanta, with a casting call issued. Abu Dhabi was also a filming location. The production crew chose it over Dubai, as they would benefit from the Emirates' 30% rebate scheme. Pikes Peak Highway in Colorado was closed in September to film some driving sequences. On September 16th, the production filmed with Paul Walker and the Kimsey twins playing his son Jack in front of an Atlanta elementary school. Han's funeral scene was filmed at Oakland Cemetery, with extras needed for the scene being hot, hip, and trendy, cool types of all ethnicities between the ages of 18 and 45. On the evening of September 19th, Lucas Black joined the production for his sole scene with Diesel in an Atlanta parking garage. Separate scenes with Walker also shot in the same location on the same night, including one half of a phone conversation between his character and Jordana Brewster's. On October 24th, over a month into the film's production, Johnson tweeted he had started shooting for the film after wrapping up on Hercules. 5 days later, Diesel posted the first photo of Johnson on the set, in the hospital scene. Death of Paul Walker. On November 30th, Walker, who portrayed Brian O'Connor, died in a single-vehicle accident. The next day, Universal announced that production would continue after a delay that would allow the filmmakers to rework the film. On December 4th, Universal put production on hold indefinitely. Wan later confirmed that the film had not been cancelled. On December 22nd, Diesel announced that the film would be released on April 10, 2015. On February 27, 2014, The Hollywood Reporter reported that filming would resume on April 1st, and that the cast and crew had headed to Atlanta to prepare for about 8 more weeks of shooting. Principal photography ended on July stunts. The airdrop sequence was conceived by stunt coordinator and second unit director Spiro Rosatos, who also did so on the franchise's 2 previous installments, Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6. Rosatos told Business Insider that he wanted to rely more on real stunts rather than CGI because he wanted the whole sequence to feel real and fulfill audiences' expectations. The stunt took months of prep solving problems. Cameras needed to be mounted onto cars in a way that they would not be destroyed when the cars landed, and the crew had to figure out a safe way to get the cars out of the plane. They performed a dry run with a single car falling out of a plane and did this 6 times. Cars were dropped from a Lockheed C-130 Hercules high above the Arizona desert, but close-up shots that show the cars landing on a mountain road were filmed in Colorado. There were 2 airplanes flying at a height of 12,000 feet, each dropping 2 cars apiece. BRS parachutes enabled with GPS were secured to each of the cars before dropping off the C-130 plane. At about 5,000 feet, the parachutes deployed. 56. Over 10 cameras were used for the sequence. In addition to cameras on the ground, there were cameras remotely operated inside the plane and another 3 mounted outside each car. Additional cameras were on a helicopter, where Rosatos was stationed watching monitors. 3 skydivers used in the shoot wore helmet cameras to help shoot the sequence from multiple angles. Skydivers would either jump out before cars or after them. While all the cars landed on their drop zones, 70% landed perfectly and 30% did not. For the close-up scenes, which show the actors inside their cars, a giant gimbal with a 360-degree range of movement were attached to each of the cars and was filmed against a green screen to reproduce their tumble through the sky. The last part of the scene, which shows the cars hitting the road, was shot separately. To get that right, the team set up a pulley system that had cars 6 to 10 feet above the ground. When they were dropped from the cranes, the stuntmen who were sitting in the driver's seats raced their engines at about 35 to 40 miles per hour and slid to the ground at full speed. Those cranes were then later removed from the film with computers. Rosatos claims, therefore, that the airdrop sequence was all real and that it would be hard to top. The scene featuring Brian jumping off a bus off a cliff was performed by a stuntman and was all done without any computer graphics. The shooting for this particular sequence, along with the scene in which Dom and his team are pursuing to rescue Ramsey, almost did not happen due to the absence of tax break in Colorado. The studio originally wanted to shoot the sequence in Georgia, which provides tax breaks for film productions, and then add woods in the background later in post-production, to which Rosados denied, saying, "The audience is going to know it's CGI and aren't going to feel good about it." 58. Shooting finally took place in Colorado. A total of 340 cars were used in the film, and more than 230 cars were destroyed in the making of the film, including several black Mercedes-Benzes, a Ford Crown Victoria, and a Mitsubishi Montero. The film featured the on-screen destruction of a Lykan Hypersport by W Motors, valued at $3.4 million, though the actual car destroyed was a less expensive model made for the film, rather than one of the 7 actual production Hypersports. The mountain highway chase scene on Colorado's Monarch Pass proved to be the most damaging sequence, with over 40 vehicles being destroyed. Only 10% of the action sequences in the film were computer-generated, and even then, much of the CGI was employed simply to erase the wires and other contraptions that were used to film real cars and drivers, or to add a background. It took more than 3,500 man-days to complete the various stunts of the film. Redevelopment of Walker's character. In January 2014, Time reported that Walker's character, Brian O'Connor, would be retired instead of killed, and that new scenes would be developed in order to allow the franchise to continue without him. To recreate Walker's likeness, the filmmakers hired Peter Jackson's Weta Digital Visual Effects house, which had previously produced the imagery of Gollum in the Lord of the Rings franchise and Caesar in the Planet of the Apes franchise. Initially, what Weta could do was severely constrained by the quality of the reference materials available for Walker's physical appearance. In April 2014, it was reported that Walker's brothers Caleb and Cody had been hired as stand-ins. Their strong resemblance to their late brother meant the filmmakers could use scans of their bodies instead of recreating Walker's entire body from scratch. The final film showed Walker's face superimposed over the bodies of his brothers or actor John Brotherton in 350 visual effects shots. 260 used a computer-generated face, while 90 repurposed actual footage of Walker's face borrowed from outtakes or older footage. Music main article, Furious 7 soundtrack. The musical score was composed by Brian Tyler, who scored the 3rd, 4th, and 5th installments of the series. "There's an emotional component to Fast and Furious 7 that is unique," said Tyler about his experience scoring. "I think people are really going to be amazed by it." A soundtrack album to the film was released by Atlantic Records on March 17, 2015, 71, while Tyler's score was released by Backlot Music on March 31st. When discussing the creation of the score, Tyler explained, "It was a pleasure to collaborate with James Wan on Furious 7 as he wanted the emotion of the themes to be the primary focus. The music uses modern recording techniques, vintage modular synthesizers, mashed up beats, drums, and tweaked remix elements, along with classic film scoring traditions including full orchestra, piano voice, and classical guitar. I am so proud of the movie, and I dedicate the score to the memory of Paul Walker and all the joy he brought." In describing Tyler's score, Wan remarked, "Brian's amazing score gave this movie life. He did an incredible job of crafting an electrifying score for the bombastic action moments, one that is balanced by the beautiful and emotional themes of the characters that underline the heart of this movie." Songs featured in the film include Go Hard or Go Home, Wiz Khalifa and Iggy Azalea, Ride Out, Kid Ink, Tyga, Whale, YG and Rich Homie Quan, See You Again, Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth, My Angel, Prince Royce, Hamdulillah, Narsi featuring Shadia Mansour, Get Low, Dylan Francis and DJ Snake, Ahí Vamos, J Balvin featuring Nicky Jam and French Montana, Tempest, Deftones, Menio, Fito Blanco, and Payback, Juicy J, Kevin Gates, Future, and Sage the Gemini. Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth's See You Again, which plays over the film's ending and itself a tribute to Paul Walker, received both popular and critical acclaim. It was shortlisted for the Song of the Year for the BBC Music Awards and was nominated for Best Original Song at the 73rd Golden Globe Awards. See You Again was the best-selling song of 2015 worldwide, with combined sales and track equivalent streams of 20.9 million units according to IFPI. Release theatrical. The film originally scheduled to be released on July 11, 2014, but the film was put on hold following Paul Walker's death in November 2013. In October 2014, Universal revealed that the film was officially titled Furious 7. Leading up to the event, 7-second behind-the-scenes videos were released, titled 7 Seconds of 7. The film was next scheduled for release on April 10, 2015, but it was announced that the film's release date had been brought forward a week to April 3. The official announcement and change of date was made in July 2014. Furious 7 premiered at the SXSW Film Festival at 12:07 a.m. at Austin's Paramount Theater on March 16, 2015. For its global premiere at the TCL Chinese Theater in Los Angeles on April 1, IMAX Corporation installed a new laser projection, which was the first such installation in the US and the second worldwide, following The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, 2014, which opened at Scotiabank Theatre in Toronto in December 2014. Home media. Furious 7 was released on July 6, 2015 in the UK and was released via DVD and Blu-ray on September 15 in other countries. The Blu-ray edition features an all-new extended edition of 140 minutes long, deleted scenes, stunts, behind the scenes, and the music video for Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth's See You Again. The Blu-ray and DVD versions include behind-the-scenes footage of the Race Wars scene, including rapper Iggy Azalea and the making of the cars featured in the film, 82. In the US and Canada, it sold roughly 2.5 million units on Blu-ray and DVD in its first week of release, making it the highest-selling home entertainment live-action film of 2015. This record was later surpassed by Jurassic World, 2015, the following month. Furious 7's home video sales made a revenue of $66.4 million with 4.2 million copies sold, making it the seventh best-selling title of 2015. Reception box office. Furious 7 grossed $353 million in the United States and Canada, and $1.163 billion in other countries, for a worldwide total of $1.516 billion, against a production budget of $190 to $250 million. It was the third highest-grossing film of 2015 and the fourth highest-grossing film of all time. Furious 7 was also the fastest film to reach the $1 billion mark at the time, doing so in 17 days. It also became the first film to pass $1 million in 4DX admissions worldwide. Deadline Hollywood calculated the film's net profit as $354 million, accounting for production budgets, marketing, talent participations, and other costs. Box office grosses and home media revenues placed it fifth on their list of most valuable blockbusters. Worldwide, Furious 7 was released across 810 IMAX theaters, which was the largest worldwide rollout in IMAX's history. Its worldwide opening of $397.6 million was the second highest opening of all time. The film had an IMAX opening weekend total of $20.8 million. North America predictions for the opening weekend of Furious 7 in the United States and Canada were continuously revised upwards, starting from $115 million to $150 million, 98.99. It opened on Friday, April 3, 2015, across 4,004 theaters, including 365 IMAX theaters, which made it the widest opening for the Fast and Furious film and Universal's widest opening release ever, until first surpassed by Jurassic World and Minions, 100 and 102, and earned $67.4 million, marking the 10th biggest opening day. The film's Friday gross included a $15.8 million late-night run, which began at 7 p.m., from 3,069 theaters, marking Universal's highest late-night run, of which $2.2 million came from IMAX showings, marking the third-largest IMAX preview gross ever. 105-106. Based on pure Friday gross, with the omission of revenues from Thursday shows, it earned $51.5 million, marking the fifth biggest of all time. Through Sunday, April 5th, it had an opening weekend total of $147.1 million, 109. This opening broke the records for the highest weekend debuts in April and for the Easter weekend, both of which were later overtaken by Avengers, Infinity War and Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, respectively. It earned an IMAX opening weekend total of $13.3 million, marking the second biggest of all time for a 2D movie. Premium large format comprised 8%, $11.5 million of the total opening gross from 400 PLF screens, which is the biggest 2D PLF opening. In its second weekend, the film expanded to 4,022 theaters, thereby breaking its own record of being the widest Universal Pictures release ever, and earned an estimated $59.6 million, declining by 60%, which is the third best second weekend holdover for a pre-summer film release. It became the highest-grossing film in the Fast and Furious franchise, doing so only in 10 days. The previous record, which was held by Fast and Furious 6, took 15 weeks to reach its entire lifetime gross of $238.67 million. It also set the record for the biggest second weekend April gross. Other territories: Furious 7 opened on April 1, 2015 in 12 countries, earning $16.9 million, including previews from 22 countries. T opened in 33 more countries on April 2nd for a total of 45 countries, earning $43 million from 8,407 screens, marking Universal Pictures' overseas highest-grossing Thursday ever, and for a two-day total of $60 million, 119. It added 20 more countries on April 3rd, earning $59.2 million from 9,935 screens in 63 countries, for a three-day total of $120.6 million. On April 5th, it earned a four-day opening weekend total of $250.4 million, from 10,683 screens in 64 countries, which is the fourth highest international opening ever, in all which it reached first place at the box office. It earned an IMAX opening weekend total of $7.5 million from 175 IMAX screens, breaking the record for the biggest April IMAX gross, previously held by Captain America: The Winter Soldier 2014, $6.43 million. It set opening weekend records in 29 countries including Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Egypt, Malaysia, Mexico, Middle East, Romania, Taiwan, Thailand, Venezuela, and Vietnam. In its second weekend, it held the top spot and fell gradually by 20.4% to $198.7 million, including China's opening day gross. From 18,374 screens in 66 territories as a result of minor competition, and remaining at number 1 in all 63 territories where it was released the previous week. It added 3 new countries in its second weekend: China, Russia, and Poland. The film earned $167.9 million in its third weekend, which topped the box office outside of North America for 3 consecutive weekends. The film was a massive box office hit in China. It opened there on April 12th and set an all-time midnight run record with $8.5 million and an opening day record with $68.8 million. Its opening day included a record-breaking $5 million from IMAX run, also breaking Transformers: Age of Extinction's 2014 former record of $3.4 million. 124. Through its opening week, April 12 to 19, it earned $245.9 million. For the weekend alone, it took in $88.7 million from 5,454 screens Friday to Sunday and $182.4 million Monday to Sunday at the Chinese box office. It grossed $1 billion in 5 days, the fastest time in which that has been achieved, and soon became the highest-grossing foreign film ever in China. In 15 days, its gross in China surpassed those in Canada and the United States and became the first film in China to make more than 2 billion renminbi. Its success has been credited to China Film Group Corporation, the state-owned film distributor, which had invested considerably in the film, reportedly taking a 10% stake. In Latin America, it became the second highest-grossing film, $200 million, the first time Universal has reached the milestone, and the second film in history to earn more than $200 million after The Avengers, 2012. In total earnings, the largest countries outside the US and Canada are China, $391.2 million, the United Kingdom, $60 million, Mexico, $51.7 million, Brazil, $46.6 million, Germany, $42.8 million, and India, $24 million. It grossed a total of $39 million in IMAX ticket sales in China, the biggest ever in the market. Critical response. Furious 7 received positive reviews from critics for its poignant tribute to Walker. The review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes reported an approval rating of 81%, with an average score of 7.710, based on 281 reviews, the highest-rated film in the franchise to date. The website's critical consensus reads, serving up a fresh round of over-the-top thrills while adding unexpected dramatic heft. Furious 7 keeps the franchise moving in more ways than one. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 67 out of 100 based on 50 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale. The film received highly positive reviews upon its secret screening at the South by Southwest Film Festival on March 16, 2015. Ramin Setudeh of Variety noted that fans began lining up outside 4 hours before the film was scheduled to start. The film closed with a tribute to Walker, which left many in the theater holding back tears. Wesley Morris wrote, "Who would have thought that a series addicted to the high of movement could also summon a solemnity that leaves you moved?" A.O. Scott of the New York Times said, "Furious 7 extends its predecessor's inclusive, stereotype-resistant ethic. Compared to almost any other large-scale big studio enterprise, the Furious brand practices a slick, no-big-deal multiculturalism and nods to both feminism and domestic traditionalism." John DeFore of The Hollywood Reporter criticized the film, however, describing it as stupidly diverting, saying the running time was overinflated. He compared watching the film to a morbid game, in addition to criticizing the screenplay. Distributed by Universal Pictures, release dates April 1, 2015 in TCL Chinese Theater, April 3, 2015 United States, running time 137 minutes, countries United States, China language English, budget $190 million, box office $1.515 billion. So guys, this is their view of Fast and Furious 7 movie, and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if I like this video, please thanks watching.